I want us to have a look at a very interesting developing story. Before we look at that, let me make this clear. I've gone through some of your comments, and some of you are not very happy with our earlier videos. It's important I make this very clear that I'm not supporting any political side in Tanzania. I don't support the opposition. I don't support the government side. I'm just trying to analyze what's happening there from my own perspective as a Kenyan, how I see it in relation to what is happening in Kenya. And I've always maintained that you can still presidential election votes, yes, but it's very difficult to rig all parliamentary elections in a country. How is it possible in the first place? How can you rig all parliamentary elections? Some of you have given me the answer, which I'm still really trying to fathom exactly what's happening in Tanzania. In this video, I want us to have a look at another thorny issue, the issue of turnout. There is no doubt the election was rigged. There is no doubt about that. But even if the election was not rigged, could the opposition have beaten a CCM candidate? That's where I have got some problems. Even if SAMIA SULUHU could have just conducted free, fair election, could the opposition have beaten her? I'm asking that question because since the advent of CCM has always won elections in Tanzania. CCM has never been beaten. And even in the last 4 presidential elections, CCM has been winning very easily against the opposition. Could the opposition have beaten a CCM candidate? That's my big question. Let's have a look at some interesting statistics dissected by The Star. The Star is a Kenyan newspaper. Mystery of Tanzania President SAMIA SULUHU Hassan's victory figures. Tanzania's President SAMIA SULUHU Hassan has set history by being elected with a near 98% victory in one of the most chaotic polls in history of the country. On Saturday, the Electoral Commission declared that SAMIA, who rose to power in 2021, received more than 31.9 million votes, or 97.66% of the total, handing her a 5-year term. The National Electoral Commission announced that 32.67 million of 37.7 million registered voters participated in the exercise that was marred by violence. This represents 86% turnout despite the chaos that began on election day on the October 29, 2025, when some polling stations were attacked and ballots burned. However, both the turnout and SAMIA's votes have raised eyebrows, given that in the past polls, Tanzania averaged about 70% voter turnout in the last 20 years. International observers noted an extremely low voter turnout, with reports of largely empty polling centers, yet INEC's figures tell a different story. The credibility of the process was further undermined when demonstrators in acts of defiance were filmed stealing ballot boxes and scattering ballots, making it almost impossible to achieve such a high turnout. In 2015, Tanzania had 23.2 million registered voters, with John Magufuli securing 58.46% against opposition leader Edward Lowasa's 40% in the polls that had a turnout of 67%. During his re-election in 2020, held amid restrictions on opposition campaigns and limited observation due to the COVID pandemic, Magufuli received 84% victory against Tundu Lissu's 13%, 1.9 million votes. The 2020 turnout was marked at 51%. In 2005, Tanzania had 15.9 million registered voters, where Jakaya Kikwete won 80.28% in an exercise that recorded a 72% turnout. In 2010, Kikwete secured a second term at 62.83%, while opposition candidate Wilbroda Slaa received 27.05%. The turnout also dropped to 51%. If you look at Tanzania's presidential election in the last 20 years, as from 2005, the turnout has never gone above 72%. In fact, if you do the average, in the last 20 years, the turnout has been 16.25%. That has been the average turnout in Tanzania's general election in the last 20 years. Let me break it down for you. In 2005, turnout was 72%. Winner Jakaya Kikwete had 80.28% of the total votes cast. Then in 2010, turnout dropped to 51%. The winner Jakaya Kikwete won with 62.83%. Turnout in that election was 51%. In 2015, turnout was 67%. Winner Magufuli had 58.46%. In 2020, turnout dropped to 51%, and we can understand that there was that COVID pandemic. Turnout was 51%. Magufuli won with 84%. The average turnout in those four general elections is 72 plus 51 plus 67 plus 51. The average turnout has been 60.25%. That has been the average turnout. And looking at these individual turnouts, there has been no turnout that went beyond 72%. And in all these elections, it has never been chaotic the way we saw it this time around. This time, there were lots of chaos in Tanzania. So the turnout naturally could have not been higher than the past or previous elections, because the previous elections were averagely peaceful, not as chaotic as the one witnessed on 29th of October. It's only commonsensical that the turnout could have not been as higher as we did witness on 29th. It's a given fact that that was not a free, fair election. Thus, a given fact, the election was rigged. But even if the election could have not been rigged, could the opposition have won that election? Because in 2020, Tundu Lissu was Pombe Magufuli's main challenger, only managed about 13% of the votes. Do you think Tundu Lissu in 2025, he could have moved from 13% to a win? In 2020, already Tanzanians had rejected him. Could he have moved from about 13% to a victory. Maybe Tanzanians should let us understand how they play their politics there. But practically, from where I sit, the opposition had no chance in this election. Mama SAMIA SULUHU made a very big blunder by blocking the opposition candidates. She ought to have allowed them in the race to beat them squarely. I can be wrong, I can be right. Don't throw a lot of arsenals at me. That's only my opinion. Let's meet in our next analysis. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Kenya.